The soul of Vietnam, found on the street. Vietnamese street food is not merely a way of eating, it is a way of living, remembering, and understanding the rhythm of everyday life. To walk through a Vietnamese street is to step into a moving story where history, community, and flavor meet at every corner. The aromas rise before the dishes are even seen, curling through the air like invisible invitations. Smoke drifts upward from charcoal grills, steam escapes from bubbling pots, and the sharp brightness of herbs cuts through the warmth of broth and oil. This culinary world exists without walls, without menus in many cases, and without formality, yet it holds a depth of culture that no luxury restaurant could ever fully replicate. From the early hours of the morning, the streets begin to awaken. Before offices open and traffic thickens, small plastic stools appear on sidewalks as if by instinct. A woman balances baskets of ingredients on a bicycle that has traveled the same route for decades. A vendor wipes down a low metal table, knowing exactly how many customers will arrive and at what time, even without appointments or reservations. In Vietnam, street food follows a quiet order, shaped by habit rather than schedules. Breakfast is not rushed. A bowl of noodles is not simply fuel for the day, but a moment of grounding, a familiar comfort that connects the eater to generations before them. What makes Vietnamese street food extraordinary is not complexity, but balance. Every dish is built on contrast, hot and cool, soft and crisp, savory and fresh. A single bite often contains multiple textures and layers of flavor that unfold gradually. Rice noodles absorb rich broth, while fresh herbs provide a clean finish. Fermented sauces add depth, while lime and chili awaken the senses. This balance reflects a broader philosophy embedded in Vietnamese culture, one that values harmony over excess, refinement over indulgence. Street food also reflects the geography of the country. Vietnam stretches long and narrow, and each region leaves its signature on the streets. In the north, flavors are restrained and subtle, shaped by cooler weather and an emphasis on natural taste. Broths are clear yet deeply aromatic, and seasoning is measured rather than bold. In the central regions, food becomes more intense, both in color and heat. Chili, shrimp paste, and intricate preparation methods speak of a land influenced by royal kitchens and challenging climates. In the south, sweetness enters the scene, a reflection of fertile land and abundant produce. Coconut, sugar, and fresh fruit soften the edges of savory dishes, creating a sense of generosity and openness. Yet despite regional differences, street food everywhere in Vietnam shares a common soul. It is communal. People sit shoulder to shoulder on low stools, strangers only until the first shared smile or comment about the weather or the food. Status fades quickly in these spaces. Executives in pressed shirts eat beside construction workers, still dusty from the job site. Students laugh over bowls of noodles, while elders sip tea nearby. The street does not judge, it feeds. There is also an unspoken trust between vendor and customer. Many street food sellers operate without written recipes, relying instead on memory, instinct, and repetition. Measurements are done by feel. Timing is learned through years of practice. A hand reaches into a basket for herbs without looking, knowing exactly how much is enough. This knowledge is rarely written down. It is passed from parent to child, from mentor to apprentice, from observation to muscle memory. Each stall becomes a living archive of tradition. Creativity thrives within these traditions. Street food is not frozen in time. It adapts constantly, responding to new tastes, new ingredients, and new generations. A classic dish might be adjusted slightly to suit modern preferences while still respecting its roots. Vendors experiment quietly, adding a new garnish or refining a sauce, testing reactions one customer at a time. Innovation happens not in boardrooms, but on sidewalks, guided by instinct and immediate feedback. The sensory experience of Vietnamese street food goes beyond taste. Sound plays a role as well. The clatter of bowls, the hiss of oil meeting heat, the rhythmic chopping of herbs, and the hum of conversation
form a background melody. Even the streets themselves contribute, with motorbikes passing inches away and vendors calling out greetings to regulars. Eating becomes an immersive experience, one that engages the entire body, not just the palate. Street food also tells stories of resilience. Many vendors began their work out of necessity rather than ambition. War, economic hardship, and migration pushed people to find ways to survive with limited resources. A small cart, a single pot, and a family recipe were often enough to build a livelihood. Over time, these humble beginnings turned into beloved institutions, with customers returning for years, even decades, drawn by consistency and familiarity. For many Vietnamese people, street food is inseparable from memory. A particular dish can instantly transport someone back to childhood, to mornings before school, or evenings spent with friends. The smell of grilled meat might recall family gatherings. A bowl of soup might evoke comfort during difficult times. Food becomes a form of emotional language, expressing care, nostalgia, and belonging without words. The relationship between street food and time is unique. Some dishes are tied to specific moments of the day. Certain snacks appear only in the afternoon, while others are reserved for late nights, when the city slows and conversations deepen. These rhythms create a sense of continuity, anchoring daily life, even as cities grow and modernize. Amid towering buildings and changing skylines, the street food scene remains a constant, quietly adapting while holding on to its essence. For visitors, Vietnamese street food can feel both exciting and intimidating. There are no glossy menus, no clear instructions, and sometimes no shared language. Yet this uncertainty is part of the experience. Ordering becomes an act of trust, a willingness to step outside comfort zones. In return, travelers often discover not just new flavors, but new ways of relating to food and to people. What distinguishes Vietnamese street food from many other culinary traditions is its intimacy. The distance between cook and eater is small, often just a few steps or a shared table. Questions can be asked, stories can be exchanged, compliments are given directly, sometimes shyly, sometimes with pride. Food is not hidden behind kitchen doors. It is prepared openly, honestly, and with confidence. As Vietnam continues to modernize, concerns arise about the future of street food. Regulations, urban development, and changing lifestyles pose challenges. Yet the spirit of street food endures because it is deeply woven into cultural identity. It is flexible, resourceful, and grounded in community. Even when stalls move or adapt, the knowledge and values behind them persist. In many ways, street food mirrors the character of the country itself. It is resilient without being rigid, humble without being small, and rich without being excessive. It invites participation rather than observation. To truly understand Vietnam, one does not begin in museums or monuments, but on a street corner, seated on a low stool, holding a warm bowl, surrounded by the quiet choreography of daily life. In that moment, as flavors unfold and the city breathes around you, it becomes clear that street food is more than nourishment. It is history you can taste, culture you can touch, and connection you can feel. It reminds us that the most meaningful experiences are often found not in grand settings, but in simple places, shared with others, one bite at a time. And long after the last bowl is emptied and the stools are stacked away, the memory lingers, not just on the tongue, but in the heart, quietly calling you back to the streets, where stories are cooked daily and culture is served without pretense. As night deepens, the streets of Vietnam take on a different rhythm, yet the language of food remains just as fluent. Neon lights flicker on, casting soft reflections on worn pavement, and the scent of late-night dishes drifts through the air, heavier, warmer, more indulgent. This is the hour when hunger is no longer about routine, but about comfort and companionship. People gather not because they must eat, but because they wish to linger. A shared table becomes a place for quiet confessions, laughter softened by fatigue, and stories that only surface when the day finally loses its grip. At these hours, street food feels almost intimate, as if the city itself is whispering rather than speaking. Vendors move with calm efficiency, unhurried yet precise, knowing their regular customers by face and preference. A nod replaces an order. A smile confirms understanding. The food arrives familiar and reassuring, unchanged by time, yet perfectly suited to the moment. In these late meals, one finds not excitement, but reassurance. The sense that some things in life remain steady, no matter how fast the world turns. For the younger generation, these street corners become classrooms of culture. They learn patience by waiting for their turn, respect by observing elders, and belonging by sharing space. For the older generation, the same streets offer continuity, proof that tradition can coexist with change. Between them flows an unspoken agreement that these flavors, these rituals, are worth preserving. Eventually, dawn will return, stools will be set out again, and pots will once more begin to simmer. The cycle continues, not as repetition, but as renewal. Vietnamese street food does not chase perfection, it chases authenticity, and in doing so, it captures something rare, the ability to nourish both body and spirit, quietly reminding those who pause to eat that culture lives not only in books or memories, but in the simple act of sharing a meal under an open sky.